get into like your NHL days as a first round pick and what you were going through. Maybe some pressures, some adversity and also things that you're really enjoying at that age that you can, look back on.
It was seventh overall in '99, so it's quite a long time ago. But it was incredible. I was drafted in the same year as the Sedins in Boston there, so that was a pretty neat experience to watch that trade go down in real time. But it was an incredible experience to get drafted that high, and then heading into 2 training camps with the Capitals and suiting up against some of my idols, learning face-offs from Adam Oates was pretty neat. Something that stuck with me the rest of my career and helped me tremendously. Peter Bondra was kicking around there and one of the best goal scorers ever to play the game. Lots of guys I learned from in those first 2 years, and my first game I played at 19, so I signed a contract that kept me around for the first 10 games as a 19-year-old. And Ron Wilson was a coach. So my first game was in Washington against LA. And I think he was seeing what I was capable of, primarily defensively, because we had a line of myself, Richard Zednik, and Jan Bulis. And those guys were 23, 24 at the time. And Ron was matching our line against Joseph Stumpel, Zygmunt Palffy, and Luc Robitaille all night. So a little bit of a test, I think. And I was -2, but so it didn't exactly go that well. But he was most likely seeing if I was capable of holding my own against a group like that. So that was a really neat experience. And then my first year before my 20-year-old year, his first year, full pro year, I got traded from Washington to Pittsburgh. And that was the deal that saw Yager go to Washington. So I was involved in that deal with 2 other second rounders. And there was quite a lot of money involved in that deal as well. So Pittsburgh was struggling financially at the time, so they got quite a bit of money in return for Yager. But that was a pretty crazy experience. That's with my brother when I found out, and it was second year after Mario's return. So immediately I understood I was going to get a chance to meet my biggest idol ever and be on the same ice as him. So that was really insane, and got to play a whole year and play on his line for a bit. So that was a really neat experience, and just to see some of the things that he would do, just the little intricacies of his creativity was unbelievable. And some things he would do, he'd come back to the bench, and I just ask him, like, how do you see that? How do you do that? He's like, well, you could do it too. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, that was pretty phenomenal. So, he was there. Kovalev was there. Robert Lang, Martin Straka. These guys are 70, 80, 90-point guys in the NHL. One of my favorite parts about my hockey experience was after practice, we'd play essentially pickup with those guys, with Kovalev, Straka, Long. Alexei Morozov was there, Jan Hrdina. So we'd play little pickup games after practice almost every day, and they loved it because we were playing 4-on-4 in zone, and it was just really about having the time to try things and be creative. And it was a pretty good 4-on-4 pickup game, I must say. So that was fun. So those are some initial things that I went through in the beginning, and all through that time I was pegged as a top 10 pick, a potential franchise player for Washington, and then on to Pittsburgh as well. Same kind of hype and talk around my arrival there as a potential franchise player. I was getting compared to Ron Francis, which is a big, it's a big comparison. So a lot of things that built up my ego and kind of inflated my head a little bit, and my expectations were that level, the Ron Francis level. That's who I was, without actually getting there yet. So the next year, I got into camp as a sophomore. Obviously, did okay my first year. I had 10 goals, 25 points, which is pretty good as a 20-year-old. Wasn't great defensively, but understandable. I need to work on that. So decent year as a 20-year-old. My second year went in obviously to want to improve on that, and got through camp, and they sent me down to the minors, which was a complete shock to me, and really something that really affected me for a lot of years after that. It was a big blow to my ego, and it was something that I didn't think I'd ever spend time in the AHL, and all this hype all the hype really started at 12, 13, and I was getting compared to. I remember at provincials, I was getting compared to Guy Lafleur by a Dallas Stars scout, right? So you have all this hype built up from a young age, and my parents had never experienced it, so they were kind of along for the ride with the hype. My agent at the time was new to the game, so he didn't really stamp out hype. He does. I talk to him now. He's like, I stamp out any hype with my players, and he's like, I'd rather have second, third, fourth rounders than first rounders sometimes, just because he wants to tamper down the hype. So I was, I was fed hype, and so that year I got sent down. It was a big blow, and then I would spend the whole year in Wilkes-Barre. A lot of injuries started to come into the picture. Nothing serious, but just kind of started an up and down with me with the game, and I was always trying to get back to that Ron Francis type player, and anything less than that for me, even though I had a lot of successes, anything less than that, I still viewed my career as a failure, because I wasn't hitting what I had built up for so many years. But yeah, it's the stories go on, but just a little insight into the beginning, and then it was just a lot of ups and downs from there, a lot of successes, but a lot of adversity, and again, just trying to get back to that expectation I'd set was a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I'm hoping for. Is very fortunate to have guests on like yourself, and passing on these, people understand these types of things. They just see the team winning or losing, and the player doing really well and sometimes getting benched, but they don't understand, the part of the ego part, and it kind of just comes along with your successes through your youth days to your junior days, and then whether it be college or pro, and it just kind of keeps coming with you. And when people don't understand that stuff, just like you said, I mean, not to your level of NHL and first round pick, but even on my own career and my friends kind of thing, is like, you just have this expectation for yourself, and you're trying to get there, you're doing everything you can, and then when that big setback happens or something, adversity hits, and it's like, whoa, something just like hits you, and you got to find yourself again. And sometimes that can take a while for some others, and there's not much time when you're in the pros, and when you're in the NHL, there's not much. Yeah, it's performance right away. It's performance driven, and it's not